to anybody in this room. That's like the epitome of awkward. Obviously, he got the wrong impression of that friendship, which guys tend to do. Hey, tonight we're on week 1 of our True Love Way series and the commitment to ourselves in staying pure. We're basically, if you have your Bibles, you can open them. If not, you can just listen. Matthew chapter 22, verse 39. Jesus is asked, what is the greatest commandment? Because at this time they were in the 10 commandments, and the Pharisees asked Jesus which one was the best. They're kind of trapping him, but you can't trap Jesus and get away with it, because he says, what? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. Let's pray. Father, we thank you so much for your love and your grace and your mercy. I pray that you would be with us here tonight, that your Holy Spirit will just rest on us, and then, Lord, that we will learn more about you, we will learn more about our relationship with you, and also our relationship with each other. It's in your precious name I pray. Amen. I have a folk tale for you. No one is ever going to love you more than you love yourself. In other words, until you're 100% into you, no one else will be. Do whatever it takes to increase your self-confidence and love who you are, curly, frizzy hair and all. I mean, think about it. If you're not connected to who you really are, how the heck are you going to connect with someone else? Tonight we're going to talk about the importance of knowing who you are. Not only who you are in this life, but who you are in Christ, and how that alone can affect your relationships with each other. It's kind of funny because I wonder if our thoughts could be tape recorded in our minds, like somehow put on a tape recorder, and then we could play it back to ourselves, and we kind of can hear our mind. Like, what would that tape recorder say if we were to like play it when we're like 30? And would it say something like, you know, there's something wrong with me, I'm really messed up? I mean, I don't know how you talk to yourselves. There's no way of me knowing that. Or you could say, I'm bad. Or it's my fault. Or I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not, you fill in the blank, enough. Or I should have studied harder. I should have thought about this relationship before I got in it. I should have done this. I should have done that. I'm not as pretty as that person. I'm not as smart as that person. I'm not as athletic as that person. Or would your tape recorder say, well, I'll never be able to become something great. I'll never be able to do this. Or one of the words that I really do not like, and if you've ever been on one of my basketball teams that I've coached, you know I do not like the phrase, I can't. Because if you have the attitude and you believe that you can't do something, there's a 100% possibility that you aren't going to be able to do it. Would your tape recorder say, I can't, or I'll never? Really, at a deeper level, this is what you're saying. I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve to be loved. I don't deserve to have what I want. Or, even worse, I don't deserve forgiveness. I don't deserve forgiveness from God. I don't deserve forgiveness from this person, from my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my parents. This thinking can project, that person doesn't like me. No one likes me. And so you walk around with that perception in your head, and I've heard a lot of it, because teenagers in your age, suicide rates are going up. That's how I know that there's a lot of people your age who think like this. They have no value for themselves. Now, a lot of this thinking results from hearing it over and over, maybe as you grew up. A lot of times it's by a parent, a lot of times it's by a sibling, or sometimes it can be even bullies from school, and you start believing this in your head that you're not worth very much. If you think this way, you will attract that kind of relationship, one that doesn't have respect, one that does not have any value, because you're going to go after people who do not respect you and who do not value you because you don't think very much of yourself. I've seen it way too much. What can you do to make sure you know and love yourself? Well, on a psychology level, they say you need to check in with your feelings. Ask yourself, are you happy? Are you alive? Are you open? Or are you closed and contracted? Or are you just neutral and coasting about everything? If you're feeling negative and down, what might cause that? Kind of play back in your mind, go back. Well, why am I angry today? Or why am I sad today? What made me like this? And self-evaluate yourself is really what you need to do a lot of times. But I think the best way for you to find value in yourself is to read God's Word. Because there is no other relationship that you're ever going to find on this earth, your mother, your father, your wife, anybody who values you more than God, who wants to have a personal relationship with you. I want to share a story about a teenage girl. The young teenage girl was filled with fear as she was forced into the marketplace. She had never been to a marketplace before, but had been told of the horrors by her mother. The chains around her wrists and ankles had rubbed her flesh raw. Life as she had known it was coming to an end. Just a few short days ago, everything was so wonderful. Now this horror beyond all imagination had reared its ugly head. It had been less than a week ago that her happy world had been shattered. As she reflected, it was almost midnight when they came and told her mother, father, and brothers about the death of their beloved master. There had been an accident. The heirs of the estate wanted a quick sale. They needed cash quickly. Her father, mother, and brothers had been bound in chains and sent to the slave market in Savannah. She longed to feel her mother's comforting arms around her and hear the father say, "Child, everything works good to those who love the Lord." Snapped back to reality by the harsh voice of an auctioneer, she was paraded in front of the crowd. The bidding was fierce, but then Simon Jones, the most harsh slave owner in Charleston, made a bid. Filled with fear of Simon Jones, the bidding quickly came to an end. Simon was not only the meanest man in town, but was also the richest. You could see the vile expression on Simon's face as the auctioneer said, "Going once, going twice." You could hear the pounding of the young girl's heart like 1,000 drummers drumming as she understood that she would be treated like an animal by this cruel man. Then a voice out of the crowd said, "I raised the bid." Like a lion just robbed of his prey, Simon turned his cold, evil eyes upon the new bidder. A sound of silence filled the marketplace as every eye turned to see who would dare stand against Simon Jones. The new bidder was the newcomer in town, that wealthy Christian businessman from Tennessee. Simon laughed with a sneer and said, "Christians are full of evil and want slaves too, I see." "I raised the bid $1,000. The Christian continued to raise the bid until Simon would no longer bid. The awestruck crowd watched to see what the Christian would do with his new property. First, he removed her chains. Then, to the amazement of all, he handed her the bill of sale and told her she was free, then turned and walked away. As he walked away, she ran after him. He turned and said, "You are free. You may go wherever you please." She said, "I will go where you go, because I know you are a man of honor, and I can trust you." You see, we are all slaves to sin, like putty in the hands of the devil. Then Jesus came and bought our freedom with his blood. 1 Corinthians 7:20 says, each one should remain in the situation which he was in when God called him. See, the story isn't the fact that this girl was free and that she could go wherever she wanted. The story is this: she didn't want to leave her new master's side because he had set her free. See, sometimes in Christianity, I think, we say the prayer and we say, okay, we're Christians, we're covered by grace, we're good to go. We're free to do whatever we want with whoever we want. It's okay to push the levels as long as I don't have sex. It's okay to go this far. It's okay to go this far because I'm a Christian. I'm covered by God's grace. But you see with this story, she didn't go roaming around wherever she wanted because this man loved her so much to set her free. She was bought with a price that she wanted to follow wherever he went. Christian, this should be our mindset because we were bought at a price. Psalm 100, verse 3 says, acknowledge that the Lord is God. He made us, and we are His. We are His people and the sheep of His pasture. We matter because we belong to the Creator of the universe. I think the best way, and I believe the best way to know each other, is that if you know whose you are, you know who you are. You guys understand? If you know whose you are, then you know who you are. Like in Psalm 100, verse 3 says, you are a child of God, you are an heir. Christ bought you at a price to free you. Not to free you so you can live crazily and get into terrible relationships, but He bought you so that you can trust Him and love Him and follow Him wherever He wants you to go. If it can transform every area of your life if you know who you are because of whose you are. Commit to yourself and have self-worth, have self-value. That's what Christ gave you, value. If you are a child of God, you are valuable beyond any other part of creation because you are His. And that's my message tonight, is that you can commit to loving yourself, because unless you love yourself, it's going to be impossible for you to love someone else and let them love you the way they should. True love waits. At this time, I want you to take your sheets. And if you haven't done so already, fill out those 5 questions. I also want you to put a question. I know I said we were going to break up into boys and girls, but we're not going to do that tonight because I want all the time that we can. I don't want to waste time walking around splitting up. But here's the deal. If you want to know anything, guys, you can ask guy questions. Girls, you can ask girl questions. We're going to send it out to the guy leaders. We're going to send it out to the girl leaders. And we're going to answer your questions to the best of our ability. If you have them. If you don't, that's fine. I mean, we'll do this every week, give you a chance to do it. But the questions will be different every week. I'm going to give you 5 questions per week. And then next week, give you, like I said earlier, the opportunity to see how many of you in here said yes to these things or no. And remember, it's anonymous. We're not going to know your names. Do not put your names on here. I don't want to know. All right, that doesn't matter. All right, but I want to know yes or no to those questions. And if you have a question personally to ask us, do that. And if you write down a question in a few minutes, when you guys, there's a red box, I want you to fold it at least once. You can fold it however many times you want, throw it in there. But there's a red box up here that right now we're just going to be silent. Fill it out. When you're done, put it up here in the red box and then have a seat. When everyone's done and back to their seats, we're going to invite the 2 couples up and you guys can fire away your questions. A little bit about how you met, how long you dated, how long you were engaged, and then how long you've been married. If you guys will talk a little bit about that.
Hello. Well, I didn't meet Beverly actually until my sophomore year of college. And by the way, excuse me, I'm a little sick tonight, so I might cough from time to time. I kind of sound like that clear-eyed guy. But we met actually at Kmart in Berwick. My best friend worked there, and I was like, dude, I miss you. We don't see each other except in the summer. So I'm gonna work with you. And I saw her and I was like, dude, that girl looks good. And then I kind of asked around and found out, you know, sounded like a good worker, and introduced myself, went over to the drug aisle where she worked. I said, hey, so I heard you sell drugs. And she laughed at me. And then I knew, at that moment, if she could laugh at my jokes, we might have a chance. Because my jokes are pretty bad.
So I guess on my end, I saw him, he was like this new worker, and I was like, okay, whatever, we work all the time. The lady up front, she's tried to set me up on like random dates with people, and it never worked. And so she tells me, oh, this new guy, he's this Christian. She didn't know, she's like, this Christian guy works here now. She's like, you guys should go out. I'm like, whatever. like, no, don't even try this again. So, anyways, he came up to me, we talked and met, and so we started dating. We didn't really know each other a whole lot to begin with, but we started dating within probably a couple weeks. We dated for 3 months. That was my going into my freshman year of college. He was the only guy I ever dated. Never dated him before him, and so didn't know really a whole lot what I like at that point. A whole lot, like I had a lot to learn about myself and stuff. So we dated 3 months, and then he broke up with me. He was going into his junior year of college.
That was not easy. I didn't know. It didn't feel good at all. And there was a reason why it didn't feel good to break up with her. Because she's my wife. We got married. I should have known. No, it was God's plan. We kind of got into it a little quick, committed pretty quick. And it's not like we were doing anything serious or anything or wrong in our relationship, but I don't think we really sought out God a lot before we committed to our relationship. And so we didn't have that foundation. We didn't even know each other. I think a friendship is a good foundation for a relationship. Get to know someone before you decide to commit. But where did you leave off? Sorry.
So anyways, just to sum this up quick, so he broke up with me middle of my freshman year of college. We were apart for about 2 years. So around fall break of my junior year of college. In that time, I ended up going to Liberty where he was at, and not to follow him or anything, but just I felt God leading me there. And so we would talk and hang out, and kind of more towards the summer, we would come back and work at Kmart again together, and really got to know each other that time. We spent together with our families and with other friends, and really got to know who each other was as a person, and not just, oh, this is a random person, and I want to date somebody. And so so we were apart for 2 years. He asked me out again in my junior year, and we dated for a year and a half.
I think you made it.
I did make you wait.
Just say yes.
No.
She's like, let's think this through. That was good.
I totally I knew probably for 6 months or so he was interested in me again, just our conversations and stuff we would have. But at that point, I was like, I'm not getting my heart broken again. No way. I have to know this is the guy I'm going to be with. Not to say oh, I'm definitely going to marry him, but just knowing that I was not going to jump into it right away and going to pray about it a lot. And so after a long time, we started dating again. So we dated for a year and a half, got engaged, and then engaged for a year, and then got married.
Thank you.
And the crush was done. Just seeing their lifestyle at the time and my lifestyle were not the same whatsoever. They liked to date a lot of people. You know you did. I swear, one of them always had a different girl, every 2 weeks. Now I couldn't tell them apart at that point, so, it could have been Brent. He blames it on Brent, but nonetheless, always had a different girl, and I thought, that's not what I want. And quite honestly, the girls they did date were always, they're really, really pretty girls, and great style, intimidating girls who know exactly what I'm talking about. And I was like, you know what? I'm not his type. I'm not wasting my time. So the crush was over. And then he graduated and ended up coming here. We went to a Yankee game, when he first moved here, right before he took the job. He went to a Yankee game in New York and got to know them a little bit better. And then he stayed here. I went back out to Indiana Wesleyan. And when I came home, I thought, well, he needs to get to know some people. So I'll introduce him to some of my friends, get him acquainted, because he's going to be here, and he's new. So I did that, and we became better friends. I moved home from school at that point. Still hadn't dated anybody really. Friends with a lot of guys, but just never knew what I was looking for, and no one had it. They had, and I've told Brandon numerous times, I would go on a date. My nickname was One Date Nikki. I did not give myself that name, but that was my nickname. And I would go on a date with a guy, and they could have 9 out of 10 things, but if they didn't have all 10, I wasn't wasting my time. So I just tell them thanks for dinner, and and that was it. And then, gosh, we would go out. I came home. He always had a gift card. Someone always gave him a gift card for a restaurant. So I was his gift card date. So he would always ask me to go. I was like, free dinner? Sure. So we would go out. I had no idea he had more intentions than just giving me free food, basically. But anyways, then 3 years, right? 3 years we were just friends. 2 of those years we were best friends. I mean, we would, Friday nights, he'd come over, we'd watch a movie, and again, no intentions whatsoever on my part. I was like, he's a friend, he's a Christian, he's a good guy, and that was really the only intentions I had. And then one Friday morning, he sent me a text. I was working at Epan Hospital at the time, and he sent me a text that I wish I still had, but I don't. But it said something along the lines of, I'm going to say this now while I have the guts to do it. I like you more than just a friend. I think we could be great. Do you want to take this relationship further or something? And I started to cry. I was like, it's over. We're no longer friends. Because up to this point, every guy that I would be friends with that would tell me, you know, oh, I think we could take this further. I think we could be more than friends. And I had no interest. And then they would never talk to me again. They didn't want to be friends anymore. So I was like, you know what? I just lost a friend. And then I was angry at him. I called my mom, and I was like, who put him up to this? He knows, and Brandon knew me, so he knew if he said something like that, like he was risking a lot by telling me that. So I was like, he ruined everything. Why is he so stupid? Why would he do this? And found out no one. I wish someone had put him up to it, because then I could be mad at them. But he did it all on his own. And I didn't respond until that night. I called him because he said, oh, it was like 6 o'clock. And he sent me another text that said, I know your answer because you didn't respond. And I was like, oh, man. So I called him and I was like, Brandon, I said, we are better friends than text messages. I was like, let's talk about this in person. And he was like, okay. He's like, how about tomorrow morning, meet me for breakfast at Perkins. So we went to Perkins and I walked in and he was already there. And we sit down, and he's like, I have something to tell you. I'm like, I know, let me, and he's like, no, let me start. And he's like, tomorrow is going to be a different day at church, and here's why. And they all know, right? So anyways, he told me then what was going to happen in church the next day, where he came out to the congregation and told them of his relationship and what happened, and that he'd be stepping down as youth pastor, and that whole thing. So when he told me that he had been in a relationship and that had happened, quite honestly, I was not shocked. I was a little surprised. I was not shocked because I knew his group of friends that he ran around with in college, and I kind of expected it, I guess, a little bit. because I knew his friends, and I thought, guys, I thought when I went to a Christian school, everybody was going to be like me. They don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't do drugs, they don't sleep around, they're pure. No. And a Christian school is just like any other school. So I was a little shocked when I found that out. But anyway, so he told me that, and I just said, I'll support you, whatever. Like, that's not, people make mistakes, and people have a past, and God forgave you, I forgive you. And then he was walking me out to my car. I said, but about that text. And he was like, yeah, just forget it. And I was like, no, Brandon, we're going to talk about it. And I said, listen, I am flattered that you would like me like that you would.
Which in guy terms, that just means no, not going to happen.
But, so I said, Brandon, I am flattered that you feel that way, but at this point in time, I'm not interested. Now, I was 2 weeks away from moving to North Carolina for a job. I was offered a job, a place to live, the whole 9 yards, and then got, the job in State College, decided to stay here in Pennsylvania. But either way, I was moving out of the area, and I thought, I'm not doing a long-distance relationship, it's not great. And I said, I'm open to whatever God would have for us in the future, but I'm going to have to know it's a God thing before anything would happen. So, again, he took that as no, bottom line. And he said, but I know our friendship is strong enough to get through this. He said, I know we're still going to be friends because our friendship is strong enough. And that was so comforting to me because I thought for sure we were done being friends, because I thought he's never going to talk to me again. So at that point, pulled it off. Our friendship, wouldn't go out to eat with him. You really wouldn't ask me anymore though. Out to eat.
I got shut down once. I don't think I get shut down again.
So I would not ask him to come over to watch movies. We just we'd say hi in church. But that's about it as far as our friendship went. And then my stepbrother, who is a good friend of Brandon, started asking him to come over every Sunday to watch football at our house. And I was not a fan of that. I was like, why is he always here? I always said to my parents, why is Brandon always here? Why can't I just watch the game up at his house? Why does he have to watch it at our house? And they would come over, and I would go downstairs in our rec room and just be by myself, just to not be around them. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I did that, but I did. And one night I was driving back up to State College, and Brandon was on my mind the whole time. And I was like, God, what's going on? Get him out of my head. So I just turned on my worship music. I thought I'm just going to worship God, and so I did, and then I started praying, and then Brandon was back on my mind. And I was like, what? So I thought, well, maybe there's a reason. So I was like, God, if you don't want me with Brandon, please take him off my mind. Please don't let me think about him anymore. Just wipe it from my thoughts and clear my mind. So he stayed on my mind. So I start texting him during the week then, and just asking him how his day was going or whatever. And came home every weekend, only saw him on Sundays, and every Sunday when I drove back, he was on my mind. And just started praying about it and said, God, this is in your hands. I want for you what you have, or I want for me what you want for me. And I'm not going to force this. If you want this, you're going to have to change my heart. Because at this point, guys, I was young, single, ready to mingle, and and thought, he's back home. And quite honestly, I thought for sure when I get to State College, I'm going to meet this tall, dark-haired, I work at a fitness center for goodness sakes. I was like, he's just going to be whatever. And I met those guys, and they didn't have what I was really looking for. Because deep down, I was looking for, number one, a man that loves God more than he is ever going to love me. Because when he loves God first, he's going to have all the more love for me. and a man of character, good character, a man of integrity. And those guys didn't have it. They were pretty on the outside, but they had nothing on the inside. And so I think, when was it, January? I think we started, as Brandon says, he knew I was interested when I curled up next to him.
Yeah, we were sitting, I gotta save myself, man. I look like a horrible person here. Like, wow. No, I knew she thought that, but you guys all know my past. I'm pretty open. But anyways, you know, one Sunday, normal, she came up and actually wanted to hang out with us, and she sat beside me on like a love seat area, and I purposely chose that seat, hoping she would come sit beside me. She did, and we were doing a crossword puzzle. Oh no, we were doing a word find, which if you know our engagement story, I put it in the paper, the word find, and it spelled out, the leftover letters spelled out, will you marry me? And we did it one Sunday because after this Sunday, we did word finds pretty much every Sunday for a year and a half, but she kind of got really, really close to me in this word find this particular day, and I looked over at Ike, her stepbrother, and I was like, and he was like, and then I knew she had interest, and you know, from there it really changed. Our friendship was incredible, and we waited a little bit, like 2 months before we actually became official, and you know, we started dating in it was March 7th of 2010, right? No, 2011. Yeah, because March 7th of 2013 will be 2 years that we dated. So March 7th of that night at approximately 3 a.m. in the morning, we decided to date because we were talking, like, is this the right decision for us? You know, are we going to kill a friendship that is really an incredible friendship? And so we decided to, and we've been dating now for, like I said, March will be 2 years. We got engaged September 2nd, and we're going to get married June 1st. And it's just been an incredible ride, and like I never thought, you know, the reason that God didn't put me out of her mind is because I was praying to keep me in her mind, and it looks like my prayers went out, baby. So we stayed here engaged and soon to be married. But that's kind of how we met, and our engagement story a little bit too. So friendship is huge, and it took me a while to really know myself and know who I should be dating and why. Like she pretty much summed it up. You know, I wasn't in college. I wasn't the type of guy that she should be looking for, and she stayed away because she knew who she wanted. That's a little bit of our stories. Now I'm gonna open it up to you guys. Do you guys have any questions? It can be general. We don't have to know it's about your relationship, but if like you're wondering about something, just ask us maybe how we handle the situation, how we're doing it, how we're intentional, anything like that. Just stand up and just blurt it out, and we'll kind of take it as is. Yeah, Mike, you want to grab a wireless mic for us? But right now, if you have a loud voice, if there's any questions that you have for us, let us know, because we're open books. We'll answer them for you. Mike has a mic for you. Anybody just raise your hand.
And if you like heard something about our story and you want us to expound upon it, like
Sure.
say more about it, you know, feel free. Ask us. There you
Thanks,
go.
Sarah. That's so you don't have to yell.
Okay. Probably towards Nikki or Bev. But during high school, like, how'd you tell yourself that you were gonna find like the right one, or like, you know what I mean, just didn't fall, you know, after anyone like everyone else. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying. Okay. For me, my biological parents were divorced. My stepfather, I wouldn't say was an alcoholic, but once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. So he is an alcoholic, and they got divorced. And he, on the day they signed the papers, he signed it, gave it to my mom and said, "Take the kids with you." So kind of grew up without that father, and then we met my stepfather, and he is one of my very best friends. He is more of a father than my father ever was. And I remember him telling me a story when he met my mom. He heard a voice, the one, and he says it was God's voice telling him she's the one. And I thought, well, I want that voice. That makes it easy, because my biggest fear was marrying a man that would turn out to be my father. And I saw the way my mother was treated by my father, and I knew I did not want that. And I thought I would be single for the rest of my life before I'm going to be treated like that by a man. And I saw the way that my stepfather treated my mother, and I thought, that is what I want. I will wait for that. And there are a lot of guys that are going to have a lot of qualities that you're looking for, but I would say one thing, you've probably been told this before, but look how a guy treats his mother, his sisters, and how he treats his female friends. And see what the respect level is at. Because quite honestly, if they have low respect for the most important women in their life, they're probably going to have a low respect point for you as well.
And I thought, I'm going to make this intentional. I'm going to write down every single thing specific, things that like I had like a must-have list, and then it would be a nice list, and just things that like on my must-have list, like the first one is he has to love God more than anything else in the world, and just those types of things. And then obviously, like, oh, it'd be nice if you nice or play guitar or whatever. And so, but those, I had that in my mind. I wrote that down and I prayed over that and just asked God, like, bring this guy into my life, and I'm gonna wait for him. Like, I knew what I wanted. Jeremy's been the only guy I've ever dated. Even through college, I like would hang out with guys and went on like a date or two, but never found, because we had dated originally like for a couple months, and so I knew his characteristics, I knew who he was, and so I knew what I wanted, even though I would see other guys, hang out with them, and knew that they didn't have those characteristics and like qualities spiritually, and how like Jeremy treated me. I knew what I wanted, and so I thought, I'm gonna wait for that, and just praying about it and knowing God reveals that to me, like when it's time, like if this is the one. Like, that answers your question. Yeah.
All right, Jake. Did you just want a girl's perspective, Sarah, from that? Okay. Jake?
Nikki said that you were dating a girl every 2 weeks. Why were you such a player in college?
Okay. Wow, yeah, she used a little bit of an exaggeration there. Dan? Jenna can testify. It wasn't 2 weeks. Pastor Dan back there was one of my best friends in college, and he knew me at that stage. We actually lived together for a year, and Jenna knows as well. No, 2 weeks definitely is an exaggeration. Not every 2 weeks. I think my 5th senior year, I had 2 girlfriends, one in the fall and one in the spring. So it wasn't like it wasn't every 2 weeks. No, it wasn't like I was a player. It's just I think what these ladies said was really good. It was something I didn't really apply. Is that I didn't know what specific girl I wanted. I just dated them because they were hot, you know, and then got to know their personality. I mean, it's harsh, but it's true. Because if that's what you're looking for, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. And these ladies right here can testify that you better know what you want, and you better know at a young age in high school. Make that list, because I didn't specifically know what I wanted, so I kind of just went into a relationship because of the shallow stuff, and hoping, she's a cool girl. I think I can get to know her better, and it just ended up went out right for each other, and I didn't wait, Jake. I wasn't like a player. I know Nikki kind of perceived me as a player, and a lot of people did, but it wasn't like I was a player. It's just I didn't know what I was searching for specifically, so I couldn't find it, so I tried many times too. Any other? Peyton?
The question is, how did I propose to my lovely wife, Beverly? Well, I planned, and I tried to be really secretive about it. Those are two really important things. If you don't have a plan, you're probably going to mess up. Because it's like really nerve-wracking, at least for me it was. And then, yeah, keep it secret. That was hard because she lived in a house with like 4 other girls who were really excited about me proposing to her. So, like every day would, is he gonna propose to you today? Kind of thing. But I proposed. We used to do these, walks, jogs, biking down by this river called the James, and in Virginia. And it was kind of something that we did a lot, so maybe I could throw her off, and we did it, and I had the ring in this lunch I made us. It was all the things that she liked, She would like peanut butter and fluff sandwiches. And Luigi's ice. She loves cold things. She'll chew on ice cubes. It's really weird, And I don't know if she's low on iron. She just really likes ice. I don't know. But what else? And
so we had done this bike trail thing before, and the one other time that we've done this, there's like this little kind of like, I think it's like a swing or something down there. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Let's go to that spot. And so I'm like all kind of like sentimental and like weird. I'm like, oh, this is like our spot. And I'm like, this is like, so I like did that, and he must have stored that information in the back of his head. So then before the end of the semester, he proposed like a week or so before we were both to graduate. And so I knew it was coming, like, and so it's like, come on, like, the days are dwindling down. When are you doing this? And so we planned this, like, let's go on a bike ride before the end of the semester, just spend time together, because he was going to be going home and I was staying there working at my job. And so we're on this bike ride. The whole time I'm thinking, like, okay, this has got to be it. Like, oh my goodness. He has cargo shorts on. He has to have the ring in his pocket. Like, why doesn't he have gym shorts on? Come on. So, like, we get down there and we're, like, riding. He doesn't have pockets in gym shorts. So, so we, like, get down there and we had a little picnic lunch. And he asked me to dance, and then we proposed.
by the James. The James River.
Right, we have another question. Anybody? Do you want to do ladies first type stuff? Rachel, go ahead. Her question was, do you think it's a good idea to date in high school to kind of explore and to date around to make sure you know who you want later on? Not seriously, just like maybe a date or two or a couple, and is that smart to do? Is that what you're asking? Like, should you do that?
Okay, one thing in youth group, Pastor Doug, who's 2 pastors before Brandon, told us in our True Love Week series, and he said dating is preparation for marriage. And I never forgot that, because what is the point of dating someone if you don't intend on spending, I don't want to say spending the rest of your life with them, because you do want to get to know them, but if you go on a date and you think, this guy doesn't have what I'm looking for, or he's not, I don't want to say he's not exactly what I'm looking for, physically on the outside, but in my opinion, I thought, why waste my time? If I know I'm not going to marry the guy, why waste my time? Because I'm just wasting his time and my time, because I know I'm not going to settle down with them. And I wanted a boyfriend in high school. Like I said, all of my friends had boyfriends in high school, and they had the wrong relationships. They had just physically involved relationships, and you're in high school, and now there were people that got married in high school. In my high school, they got married their senior year when they turned 18. But it's, again, like I would just say, dating is preparation for marriage. So if you are not ready to get married, then I guess why waste your time?
In high school, if I was interested in someone, I'd go and hang out with a group, see what they're like. And there's less intense ways of getting to know people than going out one-on-one dates with them. In terms of figuring out what you want in a husband or a wife for you guys, in terms of like the characteristics, talk to people who are married. Like what are some things I should be looking for? This is a great opportunity for you guys to ask us questions about, what's great about, being with this other person. What's not so great? Whatever, what qualities and characteristics make marriage or make relationships work for you? Or pray about it. Seek out in God's word. Saying Proverbs 31, there's a lot of attributes that talk about. There's a lot of godly men and women in the Bible that you can read about, that you can learn about, and that you can apply to your call list. But yeah.
I would say another caution is the divorce rate right now is 50%. And they're attributing that to, in high school, think about it, you date, something goes wrong, they don't have something right, it gets hard, you break up. You go to another relationship, it gets hard, you mess up, you do something, you break up. And you see how this pattern of breaking up and breaking up and breaking up, and then you take that into a marriage, things get hard, you don't know how to handle things, and so what do? Oh, well, there's an option to get divorced, we're not right for each other. And so I think there's a real danger in dating around and dating because of the fact that you can kind of get used to it, and it's a pattern maybe. So I'd be cautious about that, Rachel, and guys and girls, be really cautious about that. Like they said, just be smart about dating.
And another thing, right now the world and media and our peers, and they're telling us you need to date to see what you want. And that's one thing my friends do. You need to date people because you need to know what you want. I knew what I wanted. I knew exactly what I wanted, what I was looking for. I didn't know what he would look like, but I knew. Who knew? But I knew what his inside, what I wanted his core to look like. I knew what I wanted in a man, and and it's not. My friends always said I would be the one to just be one and done, just me. And I thought, no, I won't. I'm going to move to state college. And in college, I thought I'm going to date somebody in college, and didn't, because I knew what I was looking for. And so I think just know yourself and know what you're looking for, and if they don't have it, don't waste your time.
I think it's 8:30 right now. Are you guys okay with doing one more question? Is that okay with you guys? Does someone really have a question that they want to ask right now? Yeah. If not, so you can save it. Austin? Okay, go ahead. We'll take one more, and then we'll get the worship team up here to close things out.
All right. You kind of know where I'm coming from with this, but how do you not put yourself in like one of those kinds of situations? And how do you know that you're in that kind of situation? I didn't feel that I was in that kind of situation. It ended up being that way.
Okay, Austin, yeah, I do know where you're coming from a little bit of maybe how, because you're not dating anyone now, right? But you have friends who are girls. And how do you not put yourself in a position where you might mess up or go too far with your girlfriend or just a friend of the opposite sex? And I think, I've messed up. I'm not perfect at this. And, I think my mom had a saying of nothing good ever happens after midnight. And, you know, I look back on my life, and I don't know if this applies to you, you kind of laugh at okay. Well, she had nothing happens, you know, good happens after midnight, and so I had to be home. But, you know, I think rule of thumb, lights out, alone on a couch watching a movie with the opposite sex, might not be a great situation. Or even lights out, there might be other people in the room and you have a blanket or something. A lot of stuff can happen under a blanket. I mean, you just never know. So if you want to be intentional about, you know, keeping yourself pure, take it from me, it's very hard to do because, you know, you want to be alone and you want to, but I think also that's respecting yourself and valuing yourself. Don't put yourself in this situation. And that's very hard to do, very tempting. But lights off aren't a good deal, but you know what Jeremy said earlier is group dating right now at your stage, I think is the best rule of thumb to use. Is you put yourself in a situation with, you know, an attractive girl, and a lot of times what happened in our relationship